I wasn't planning to show you the V-necks. Anyway, there are some peculiarities which you should pay attention to when working with them. I have a huge sewing experience. There are some things which I can share with you. I don't know why, but people believe that the V-necks make us look taller. People also like to say that the V-necks stretches visually. I don't like it when people say it. It's not true. There are some details which can make us look better. Taller, slimmer. The V-necks are definitely not one of them. Anyway, I do have something to tell you about the V-necks. I had a V-neck dress. It was dark blue. The V-neck in it was tight and deep. Such necklines make the garments look very elegant. The V-necks can also be wider and not that deep. They are more dreamy in this case. Today we're going to talk to you about the V-necks. After that, I'll talk to you about the boat necks. Let's have a look at the pattern. These are the front and the back. I've already moved the chest dart. I did it not because I wanted to be here, but because I didn't want it to be in the shoulder. I need to match the shoulders. I want to fix them with the sticky tape. Don't do it. I'm doing it just for you to see everything clearly. The V-necks can be tight. I don't like them though. I usually make the necklines a bit wider, even when making the shirt collars. I'm going to talk to you about making the collars later. I want to make the neckline 1 cm wider. If you don't do it, the neckline would be too tight. I also need to mark the bust top level. This is very important. Here it is. It's very important to know where it is in order not to make the neckline too deep. Some people do like such deep necklines. Why not, if the body allows? I usually pretend to be a modest woman. This is why I'm not going to make too deep necklines. It's not for me. I want to make the neckline 1 cm wider. The back neckline should be made 1 cm deeper as well. The dart can be placed here in the neckline. It can be moved to the shoulder. You can place it wherever you want. I remind you that the neckline should be tight and deep. I'll draw it this way. Watch what I'm doing. It will be very beautiful. Garments with such necklines are very elegant. Beautiful deep neckline, wide shoulders. Even though the neckline is pretty deep, it makes the dress look very elegant and classy. I can also make the neckline a bit wider, for about 3 centimeters. The back neckline can be made deeper as well. It can look this way, for example. Do you remember how to work with the shoulder dart? If it's 2 or 3 centimeters long, stitch it. If it's 1 centimeter long, ignore it. If you draw the back neckline this way, the front neckline can be drawn this way. The back neckline doesn't necessarily have to be that deep.
Вот так вот немножко.
You can also draw it this way.
Но я просто вам как пример рисую вот такое вот углубление. Вот смотрите, я сделала V-образный вырез.
The front neckline can also be drawn with a ruler.
Вот так вот. Вот видите?
I've made the line slightly round.
Но я его нарисовала вот чуть-чуть такой вогнутой линией.
These are the two different V-necks. The garments with them will look absolutely different.
Когда вы
When making a pattern for a dress, you need to be sure of what you want from this dress,
подходите к тому, выбираете
whether you want to look sexy or
вот
modest.
в этот момент вы должны четко
Think about everything in advance.
платье. Ну, может быть,
Otherwise,
соблазнить
it might be too late to
кого-то,
change anything later.
произвести впечатление строгой женщины. Или
This
это
is what I'm
ваше
making these videos for.
платье вы должны представлять уже сейчас, потому что, потом вы уже сошьете, потом уже ничего не изменишь, нужно заранее все продумывать. Поэтому учимся работать.
Have a look at the lines.
Я вам
The back neckline is not too deep.
спинку. На 3 сантиметра.
The front neckline is slightly round
Такая
and pretty
плавная
deep.
линия. Эта же линия плавная
The lines
была
could have been different.
абсолютно вот такой вот под линией.
They could have been drawn with a ruler.
Уже вот не такой уже романтичный.
Straight lines make the garments look more serious.
Вот очень
I recommend making slightly round lines.
конечно, сделать такую более выгнутую линию. Ну и,
It's
конечно,
also very important
вырез этот
that you can make the neckline of any shape you
любой
want.
высоты, какой
Make it
вам
as deep as you
хочется,
want.
любой
Make it
формы.
as wide as you want.
Абсолютно любой, сколько вы хотите открыть плечо. Вот здесь уже вы включаете свои желания.
Use your imagination.
Сейчас, когда
As I've already said, by the time you start making the pattern for the neckline, you need to know what exactly you want from this dress.
сантиметр
Next,
6.
I'm going to show you my favorite type of the neckline. It's about 6 centimeters wide.
И рисую
I'll draw the line this way.
линию.
I'll make the front neckline about 7 or 8 centimeters deep.
Тоже треугольный.
This is also the V-neck.
Такой,
It's wider, and it's not as deep as the previous ones were.
такой не глубокий.
It's of a very beautiful shape.
И за счет того, что
Such neckline would make your dress look absolutely
за
amazing.
счет того, что он в ширину хорошо открыт, он
Wearing such an amazing dress, you will look absolutely gorgeous.
вашем. Ну, а раз о вашем платье, значит, о вас самих тоже. Теперь
I'll make the back neckline similar to the front one,
тоже вот такая вот немножко
of the same width
открытая,
and pretty
но
deep.
тоже не глубоко. А может быть,
It can also look this way.
просто вот такая слегка вот такая открытая горловинка и все. Чтобы нет.
There is one very important thing.
Вот сантиметров
If you make the front neckline deep, the back one shouldn't be deep.
Но если вы вот сюда откроете,
In this case, they both are about 8 centimeters deep. It's okay.
Не глубокий, он тут плечи никогда не будет.
If the front one was deeper, the back would have had to be not that deep.
Такую линию, а сзади еще даже больше открыть. Вот вам
When sewing an evening dress, you can make the back neckline even deeper than the front one.
он такой вот.
That's what I wanted to tell you about the
Как
V-necks.
бы раньше это вот
The blue one is my favorite. It's very elegant.
думаю, с чем бы
I used to say that it's not good for me. I didn't understand the concept of the tight neckline. Anyway, now I do realize that it's very beautiful and elegant.
учимся работать с
Girls,
ладонями.
don't be afraid of the V-necks. Learn to work with them.
Что вы хотите от этой
Notice that the blue line is slightly round.
синюю линию немного
You can make it round in the other direction. You can make it of any shape you want.
сюда наружу выгнуть.
We'd like to show you one of the techniques of edging V-necks. Have a look at the mock-up.
Центр переда. И по центру переда
First, we need to mark the wrong side and the center front.
15 сантиметров. И от этой
We also need to mark the depth of the front neckline. In our case, it is 12 centimeters.
в виде
Next, we need to mark 1 centimeter to each side from this point.
3 сантиметра.
We are going to edge the neckline with the plackets, which will be 3 centimeters wide.
Они будут находить друг
They will overlap in the center. Nataly is drawing the straight lines with the ruler.
Мы обрисовали
Be very attentive.
половины.
We've drawn the lines.
Для большей четкости
However,
будем
to cut the neckline accurately, we need to fold the garment in half.
это один
The technique is very simple.
Хотим вам показать,
We'll show you some other ways for edging v-necks.
пригодится на разных и
This technique will be helpful for making t-shirts,
он очень
light
удобный,
dresses,
простой.
It's a must to cut the two sides together.
Сложив полочку пополам.
We also need two straps of fabric, 7 centimeters wide each. We're going to
У
double,
них 7
fold in half and press them.
потому что в готовом
These are the future plackets.
планка будет 3 сантиметра.
Let's go to the ironing desk.
Готов будет по 0,5. Сейчас нам нужно их продублировать и заутюжить.
First of all, we need to double this detail with a small piece of the interfacing material.
Длиной 7 сантиметров.
It is very important,
Их нужно будет
especially if the fabric you work with is thin.
Все, можем идти на утюг. Прежде всего,
We'll make a notch here later.
это место
That's why it's that important to double it.
кусочком клеевой. Это важно сделать,
Let's check
у вас
if the length of the straps is accurate.
будет и рассекаться.
This piece is enough for two plackets. We need to double it.
И сейчас, пока у нас
We've already cut the piece of the interfacing material.
можно померить, сколько нам понадобится.
It's better to cut the plackets of the fabric which stretches slightly.
Отлично. Ее нужно продублировать.
That's why we cut the details on the crosswise grain.
Когда вы
If you cut them on a bias, it will be even better.
они должны у вас немножко тянуться. То есть, если вы вырежете их по долевой, то она
Be very attentive, please.
красиво лежать. А если по поперечной,
Nataly is applying the interfacing material to the placket. Next, we need to fold it in half
по поперечной,
and press it.
конечно,
Before doing that, we need to cut the extra pieces of the interfacing material.
идеально.
It's very important.
Нашу планку и сразу можно заутюжить ее пополам.
Fold the detail in half and press it.
Не пропускайте этот
You
этап,
can see that there is nothing complicated here.
чтобы клеевая нигде не вылезала.
This is a very simple technique.
Заутюживаем пополам.
You should learn it.
Здесь ничего особенного, просто заутюжили пополам. Это очень
Next, we need to cut the detail in half in order to make two plackets.
Все, разрезаем пополам, потому что для горловинки попереду нам хватит.
Let's go to the sewing machine. Have a close look here.
Перевернули
Nataly has put the detail face up.
и здесь сейчас
We need to draw a checkpoint.
контрольную отметку. От вот этой
It should be placed
нижней-
5 millimeters below the neckline.
И когда мы будем
When stitching the plackets,
сворачивать эти
we
планки,
need to stop stitching right on this line.
строчка и последний прокол иглы не должны заходить за вот эту контрольную линию.
When we pin the details, we'll start stitching them.
Скалываем и будем настрачивать. Наташа,
We've drawn a checkpoint here. We can start stitching now.
Настрачиваем.
The width of the seam is 5 millimeters.
0,5. По спинке росток может
As for the back,
быть
you can edge the neckline,
или
either with bias binding or facing.
обтачкой
Today we're showing you how to edge the front
на
neckline.
планке, которые по горловине,
The plackets were cut on the crosswise grain.
выкроены
That's why they won't fit if you try to edge the neckline on the back with them. Be very attentive.
Вот. Обратите
Notice
внимание,
that the seam ends right on the checkpoint.
этой контрольной линии.
Make it neither longer nor shorter. It's a must.
Ее нельзя.
Stop stitching right at the checkpoint.
Также со второй стороны.
Next, we need to stitch the other placket the same way. Pin or tag the details before stitching them. Do not forget about the checkpoint. Nataly has marked the checkpoint, so she can start stitching up from it.
Эту контрольную точку. Вот. Наташа отметила
Be very careful.
и с нее будет начинать. Аккуратно.
The width of the seam is 5 mm as well.
И дальше также ширина шва 0,5. Очень важно здесь точно.
Be very careful.
Потому что
It's very important to work accurately.
вот
The most visible part of the detail depends on it.
та, которая на виду. Горловина.
Well done.
Очень хорошо.
Now we can turn it face down
В сторону.
and make small notches in the corners.
Делать небольшие.
Be very careful. Hold the ends of the plackets in your hand.
Все припуски наши
Make sure not to cut them by chance.
держать в руках.
Make tiny notches towards the angles.
Нужно сделать небольшую
Do the same thing on the other side.
к последнему
Make sure not to cut the extra pieces.
планке. Здесь тоже
Do not cut the plackets. It's very important.
все вот здесь.
We're making the notches to the ends of the seams.
Вот здесь вот она все.
Very nice. This is how they look like from the right side now.
Держи. Нет, своими руками, Наташ, держи. С лицевой стороны все убрать.
Turn the plackets to the wrong side
Именно к
and then go to the ironing desk.
последнему проколу иглы.
Have a look here. We've turned the plackets
С лицевой стороны.
and placed the right one over the left one.
Сейчас мы можем это
This is how the neckline looks like from the right side.
и пойдем.
We haven't ironed it yet.
Вывернули планки. Мы их сложили.
We need to iron the details,
Была сверху.
and then we'll edge this detail.
Вот наш угол. Вот так выглядит с лицевой стороны. Еще не утюжили. Мгм. Вот эти планки.
Iron the plackets accurately.
Сейчас нужно их
Press the seam allowance.
и уже
Be
обрабатывать
especially accurate when ironing the corners.
вниз. Отутюживаем планки.
Make sure not to make any folds or waves.
Аккуратно в уголочках.
When the plackets are pressed,
Да, утюжите с лицевой стороны.
you can start stitching this part.
Когда планки заутюжены,
Fold it to the wrong side
нужно
And then make a seam from one checkpoint to the other. Let's go to the sewing machine. Nataly is going to stitch this part from one checkpoint to the other.
Идем за швейную машинку. Сейчас нужно проложить строчку от первой контрольной точки до второй.
Be very careful. Do not forget to make back stitches at the beginning and the end of the seam.
Тогда мы красиво
Well done.
сделаем планки.
We can cut the extra pieces.
Можем срезать.
Next, you need to edge the details with an overlocker or cover them with lining.
И сейчас на
We're not going to do it now, because it's just a mock-up.
оверлоком или за
Have a look at the wrong side. The plaque is stitched to the neckline and fixed in the center front.
ничем, потому что у нас образец. Вот
The garment looks very neat from the right side, even though we haven't ironed it yet. You can edge the back neckline any way you like,
вот такой хороший результат. И
with the facing or bias binding.
вы должны на этом этапе уже обработать оверлоком эти срезы или закрыть подкладкой. Идем утюжить. Окончательная утюжка
Let's go back to the ironing desk.
разного выреза. А по
You wouldn't be able to edge the back neckline with the plackets cut on the lengthwise or the crosswise grains.
скачкой и косой бейкой. Но вот эти планки
Do not forget to edge the plackets.
они
This is a must.
растут.
The technique is very useful for sewing cotton or linen garments.
Хороший способ, он очень пригодится.
The technique is very simple and the garments look neat.
Длина
Have a look at the result.
очень простой.
Nataly has ironed the details. This is just one of the techniques for edging v-necks.
Окончательной утюжки.
We were glad to show it to you.
Так выглядит.
Have a look at the cotton sample.
Округлённый.
We've already cut the front neckline.
Здесь самый угол
Notice that the lines are not straight. They are slightly round.
кривая, мы её сейчас прикинем.
We've already cut a piece of the interfacing material to double the neckline.
Ширина 5
We also need 5 cm wide straps
у нас.
cut on the bias. The width of the plackets will be 5 cm.
Вырезали клеевую, также по косой.
We're going to double them with the interfacing material,
Укреплять
which should also be cut on the bias.
планки.
Let's go to the ironing desk
Планки.
to double the plackets.
Укрепить кончик.
First of all, we need to double the neckline. We'll make a notch here later.
Рассекать.
That's why we need to double it,
Особенно если у вас
especially when using thin or frayed fabrics. Do not forget to mark the wrong side.
что это вы делаете с изнаночной.
The mock-up can be moved aside.
Все это откладываем.
Let's move on to working with the plackets. I remind you that both the main fabric and the interfacing material for the plackets were cut on the bias.
Аккуратно
Be very attentive.
планки.
The details cut on the bias
Помните, что они у вас
can easily be stretched.
когда вы их утюжите, они могут растянуться. Поэтому не
Make sure not to do it.
утюгом не должно быть.
We're working with the two details together.
Вот они две вместе. Мы еще их будем останавливать. Но так очень удобно дублировать.
In this case,
потому
if
что
they
если
shrink,
она,
they will do it simultaneously.
то они садятся обе одновременно. Дают усадку.
Next, we need to cut the extra pieces from the details, then fold and press them.
планки. Каждую.
Fold each of the details in half and press it. Be very careful. Do not stretch the fabric.
Сейчас не нужно никакую форму.
The plackets should be straight.
Ровно
Do not try to shape them now.
прикручивается по полу.
We'll do it later.
Дальше, конечно, мы будем придавать ей форму.
Let's go to the sewing machine.
Изделие у нас лицом вверх.
Put the garment on the table face up.
Планки у нас будут вот так.
We need to attach the plackets this way.
И здесь ровно по центру будет шов. Но
We'll make a seam here, right in the center.
нам нужно срезать, чтобы у нас
First, we need to cut the extra pieces.
на месте. Сначала мы, наверное, срежем
Cut them at the right angle.
хвосты под прямым углом. Потому что
You can make a v-neck of different shape.
разное, может быть,
Make it more pointed
более
or more round.
наоборот. Угол более раскрытый.
To mark the location of the seam,
Нужно наложить
attach the plackets to the neckline.
да, вот такой. Какой у вас
Pin the plackets the way they are going to be stitched.
Сейчас нужно обрисовать вот эту линию, где у нас нижняя планка.
Draw a line here,
Точно определили
and then draw the seam.
шов. Сейчас
We can cut the extra piece now.
мы срезаем.
The width of the seam will be 5 millimeters.
Припуск на шов 0,5.
Cut the other placket according to the first one.
Режем вторую.
To do that, join the details together.
И подрезаем вторую. Вот так
This is how it should be
у
done.
вас получится точная работа.
Next, we need to stitch the details together.
Нужно их стачать. Вот,
This is how they look like now.
одна и вторая.
Pin the details right in the center.
Раскололи.
The width of the seam is 5 millimeters. Do not forget to make back stitches at the beginning of the seam. Stitch it to the center.
Иголка вниз
Make sure that the needle is inside of the detail, and then turn it.
разворачиваем.
Next, we need to make a tiny notch here,
Прям вот
right in the angle.
сюда, вот в эту точку.
It should be done for us to be able to turn the detail right side out accurately.
Чтобы мы смогли его вывернуть. Вот что у нас получилось после стачивания этих деталей.
We've made a notch here.
Сейчас вот
And next, we need to press these seams open. Cut the extra pieces first. Press the seams open.
здесь по-другому
Be very careful.
от уголочка до уголочка. Всё, уже
The stitched plackets are of the V shape.
выреза.
The plackets will be stitched this way.
Но для того, чтобы точно попасть
We need to mark a checkpoint
вот этот угол,
so that the center of the details match.
Нужно здесь поставить
We need to draw a mark 5 millimeters below the end of the neckline.
от одного края, отложили 0,5. Это мы делаем
Watch the way we are doing it.
с лицевой стороны.
5 millimeters on one side and 5 millimeters on the other side.
Нашли точку
The intersection point.
этих линий. Вот она.
Here it is.
Вот эта точка должна совпасть
Should be even to this
с
one.
точкой 0,5. Скалываем.
Pin the details and then stitch them. Be very attentive.
Очень важно.
These points should match.
На наших заготовленных
Watch what Nataly is doing attentively.
иголочкой отметили.
Pin the details and check if the checkpoints match.
Попасть.
It is very important. The width of the seam will be 5 millimeters.
Отогнули.
So the drawn checkpoints
Попали в эту точку пересечения.
should match the same point 5 millimeters away from the edge in the placket. We can start stitching the first side. Do not forget to make back stitches at the beginning of the seam.
0,5.
Be very careful when you reach the center front.
И нужно попасть
The last stitch should be made right at the checkpoint.
в это место, которое
It's very important.
вот это наше контрольное.
Make a small back stitch here.
Сделали небольшую закрепку. Такая обработка
This technique has two stages.
делается. Точно в этот прокол иду,
Have a close look here.
который мы только что сделали.
Next, you need to make a small notch.
Нужно точно попасть
Be very
в
careful.
прокол иглы, но его не рассечь.
Do not cut the seam
Будьте внимательны.
and the
С
placket.
той стороны у вас не рассеклась
This is a must.
только ткань. Вот наш рассеченный угол.
Have a look here.
Это рассечь.
We made a notch on the neckline.
Обработать вторую сторону разреза. Наташа,
Due to this fact, we will be able to stitch the placket to the other side.
чтобы обработать вторую сторону. И вот здесь как раз есть
Nataly has turned the detail to the wrong side. Have a close look here.
вот наша строчка для обработки веек
The notch ends right in the checkpoint.
точно совпадает с
It will be more convenient to stitch from the wrong side
удобнее
to stop exactly at the checkpoint.
по изнаночной, чтобы
Pin the details first and then stitch them.
скалываем и настрачиваем. Прокладываем строчку.
We're stitching from the wrong side.
Так нам удобнее. Чтобы мы точно
Stop stitching right in the checkpoint.
точку.
You can also make plackets of different color.
Такого цвета. Очень
It's very convenient to use this technique for edge knitted or linen garments.
футболки, изделия из льна.
If you edge the neckline accurately, your garments will be beautiful and neat.
Отлично.
Well done.
Благодаря тому, что строчили с изнаночной
Due to the fact that we were stitching from the wrong side, we were able to stop right in the checkpoint.
Конечно,
Have a look at the right side. The garment is not ironed yet.
поутюжить, а
This is what we're going to do next.
в конце веек
As for these pieces,
пойти на
you can use them for edging the back neckline.
спинке на обработку ростка, потому что
The plackets will fit the back neckline well because they were cut on the bias.
Хорошо ляжет по спинке.
Iron the neckline carefully.
Утюжка проводит
Do not make any folds.
с лицевой стороны.
We are ironing the mock-up from the right side.
И лишних складочек.
Iron the details both from the wrong and from the right sides.
Вот эти срезы
You can edge the plackets with an overlocker or cover them with lining.
подкладкой, смотря как у вас по модели,
We are making just a mock-up,
или с подкладкой или без. Мы в нашем
so there is no need for us to do it now.
ставим открытые срезы, потому что это образец.
We just wanted to show you how to edge the v-necks with the plackets.
V-образный вырез. Сейчас
You can
попробуем
shape the plackets when ironing them.
уложить косую бейку.
Have a look at the result. The technique is pretty simple. It's very important to do everything accurately.
Сложное, главное, чтобы все было точно.
Have a look at the wrong side. You can edge the plackets with an overlocker. We were glad to show you this technique. That's all for today. Be different and beautiful. We're Nataly and Ira. Buy our courses, subscribe to this channel, write comments, share the videos, press the like and the bell buttons. We would really appreciate your support. Thank you. Goodbye.